Good evening, everybody, and welcome tonight to day number 47. Hey there, Lynn and Harold. Actually, people jumping in from all over the place. I see all kind of different states represented, and usually I want to go through and say thank you for being here, welcome you for being here, and I know people are jumping in. But tonight, I need to flip over here immediately. I heard him click in. Let me see if he's here. Yes. I don't know what kind of connection we'll have, but let's try a quick check-in. It is 4 o'clock in the morning, and good evening to everybody. Welcome. I see all the states. You're fine just like that, bud. Don't worry about changing it. Check, check, 1, 2, 3, 4. You hear me? He's working on it. All right, I'll bring him back in a minute if he comes back in the green room. Let me tell you where he's at. He's at the border with Poland. I do not know the complete story, but I do know that 5-6 hours ago, he called me. We were talking about the day in the evening, and he said, man, I've got to go to the border. So what do you mean you have to go to the border? He goes, yes, we've had a 16-year-old girl. Maybe I've got him here now. I think I heard him. Hey. I had him. 16-year-old girl went to the border, and I don't know the whole story. The bottom line is not able to leave the country, left the parents. Oh, here we go. Boom. There we go.
Hello.
All right. So we see the sign behind you. Question for you. What time is it? 4?
It's 4 morning.
4 in the morning. You're at the border with Poland?
Yeah, there is a Poland.
Okay, that's Poland.
There is a... And here you see.
Mm-hmm. Man, the famous sign of CHOP.
Yeah.
I've seen that sign so many times. Anyway, I don't want to hold you. You're on your cell phone, So you're 60 some kilometers from Lviv, 600 kilometers from Kyiv. But what are you doing there tonight? You had to make a quick trip.
Yeah, we had to help one family that shortly the teenager girl, 16 years old, uh, decided, found out that she's adult. I mean, it's her point of view. She's
Right?
adult enough to leave the country without parents and start a new life. So,
She ran away.
yeah, but according Ukrainian law, the person with, sorry,
It's
the
okay to hear you.
person with age of 16 can
Yes.
leave the country, but according to Polish law, the person who is under 18 cannot be entered. So she's stuck in between countries.
So you have went there to get her out of there.
Yes, we had to deal with two countries now and waiting on this line,
Right?
and we made a special request. So the Polish guys, I mean, helped her to get to the parent.
Okay. So the bottom line is she's not able to leave, and you're going to be turning around and heading back.
Yeah, we're taking her back to parents.
Well, it's been a full day, and people wonder what it's like during wartime. I don't think it gets any more real than this. I mean, you're literally live on the border, and this isn't CNN or Fox or Sky News, but you're there, bud. And even caring for one young girl that tried to leave and can't. So,
Yeah, there is different challenges. Sometimes the ministry, I mean, can be in different places in different ways in different time. So we start our way home. Greetings from Ukraine. Here is the heart.
well, listen, we won't keep you. I'll check in with you when the program's over. I've got a full hour. As you know, this was a crazy day in Ukraine. So we'll be updating it. We're going to talk about Mariupol, Zelensky, Lavrov, Energodar, everywhere. Going to cover it all. Title of the program tonight is Technical Analysis for Where We're At, getting ready to start a very important week. So if something crazy happens, call me back. I'll leave your mic open so I can hear you.
Okay.
All right, buddy.
Love you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Later.
Later.
Folks, we really don't do this on purpose. Honestly, I mean, I promise you, he could not drive from Khmelnytsky to arrive at the border with block post and military in the perfect time to pop on right at the beginning of the program. It doesn't happen. But he's there, and you see, that's what we deal with. Rescuing that one girl stuck at the border. That's a part of real ministry, and you are a part of that. We're a part of that. You know, we put fuel in those tanks. Folks, they don't have anything. The economy's destroyed, and we only do our part, but that is our part, and you are a part of that, and we're very thankful to all of you for that. So thank you very much, and that's where we're at. I want to give a big shout out. A lot of stuff to cover tonight, and I am going to cover the breaking news that happened a couple of hours ago. I do have an update on it, and we're not going to really see where it goes until morning, daylight, etc. As you can see from Zhenia's call in, it is dark there. But this is where I want to start tonight. Here in our hometown, this is Volva and Lena Vlasiuk. They are from the Poltava Oblast. from the town of Reshetlovka, Ukraine. They were interviewed today, and for those of you that are here local, you probably were able to read their story in the newspaper. So it was really, really good. They were interviewed, and a very, very nice story. So this is our refugee family that is local here in Greenville, Pennsylvania. So Vova, Lena Vlasiuk, congratulations on the article in the paper. And we welcome you again to Ukraine. To Greenville from Ukraine. Folks, we've been telling you that sanctions are not going to work. And about a week ago, 5-6 days ago, I played the former Belgium prime minister who gave that great speech at the EU stating sanctions aren't going to work. Well, they're not. Let me show you some statistics that came out. So tonight, for the next 46 minutes, all technical analysis on the war. I do have some personal stories we're going to show you here. Some very interesting stuff. One is just sad, but we need to keep seeing it. But I want to start here tonight. Crude flows. This would be worthy of IA material, fellas. Crude flows. Russia's seaborne crude flows rebound after post-invasion trouble. For anyone that thinks the oil is not flowing out of Russia and hitting the other nations throughout the world, other than the ones that have sanctioned, I'm telling you, Russia's making money and they are funding the war machine. Here is crude flows via the ocean, basically. Baltic, Black Sea, Pacific Ocean, and Arctic Ocean. As you can see on the bar chart, since April the 8th, just a couple of days, Russia has the most oil on the sea heading to destination than they have had exported via the ocean all year. You see the war started on February 24th. You see the February 25 there, and then you see the decrease. But then starting about April 1st, here we go, jumping up and go on. This is an annual weekly chart. Money's not the problem, and the oil is flowing out of Russia, I'm telling you. The Austrian Chancellor, Karl Nehammer, he was in Moscow today and held face-to-face talks with Vladimir Putin. I'm just going to quote what he said. I have it here. You may not have seen this in the news. You know, a lot of these smaller countries' presidents go and meet, and you probably don't see that on your Fox or CNN or Newsmax or whatever your choice is. But today, the Austrian Chancellor, Karl Nehammer, met with Putin in Moscow. He pressed for an immediate ceasefire and humanitarian corridors. His report of the meeting simply stated that Putin was not friendly, and he took opportunity and made it clear to Putin that sanctions would remain for as long as Ukrainians keep dying. Well, the sanctions aren't working, and Putin wasn't nice to him. That's what happened today when the Austrian Chancellor went and met with Vladimir Putin. Mr. Nehammer, I've got news for you. Thank you for going. Thank you for representing Ukraine and the interest of humanity. But Mr. Putin doesn't care what you think. Sweden and Finland made their declarations known today that they intend to join NATO this summer. And this is according to the United States State Department. European diplomats in conversations already expect both countries to expand NATO's capabilities, especially in the field of intelligence gathering, of course, because Finland shares a huge border with Russia, and as a part of strengthening of the common air force. According to one of the diplomats, Sweden and Finland will be real players in the NATO bloc. JDO, you are correct, and they are using putting 49.9% Russian oil, 50.01% oil from other sources, and it is called blending. and they are selling it as non-Russian. The bottom line is the oil is flowing. And as we heard from Peskov, I played the video last night or maybe the day before. Wilbur Winterberger, I'll answer your question there, buddy. PG, why doesn't anyone speak of December 5th, 1994? We as a country made a promise, and that promise is being broken. Well, it's very simple, because unethical people break promises. Sorry to tell you the truth. There's been lots of promises broken over Ukraine, and it's not just 1994, but it goes in many, many layers, and we're going to talk about one of those in just a few moments. So Finland and Sweden, it's just another button down that tells me Mr. Putin is not going to stop. General Staff of the Armed Forces today, in fact, I've got a lot of general stuff today, and I want to probably, doing the technical analysis, we're going to look at a map here. In fact, I'll pull it up and get ready here. But Izum is becoming a significant base of operations for the invaders. Zhenya and I were talking last night. The base around Izum and the territory that Russia is building into is expanding. And the reason Izum is important is because it lets them go north toward Kharkiv, it lets them go into Dnipro, and it lets them go south towards Donetsk and backwards to Lugansk. It's vitally important. Troops and equipment are massing, and this is from the General Staff. And tonight, I'm going to show you a picture of the Supreme General. I'm going to show you a picture of this guy in just a little while. Troops and equipment are massing in the regions of Kharkiv, Lugansk, Donetsk, Melitopol. We've talked about Melitopol for 47 days almost, and Kherson as well. Preparations for a preparing provocation in the Transnistria region is unfolding in order to accuse Ukraine of aggression against another state. And in Mariupol, the Russian Federation is storming Azovstal and the port area. Chemicals have been used. Details are not yet clear. I'm going to talk about that in a little more depth. But what we need to see here is the General Staff stated that chemicals have been used. Just keep that in the back of your mind for just a few minutes. I want to go to the map now and explain to you what's going on here technically tonight. We're going to start. Let me put the border up. It's vital that you see the border. And I know tomorrow when the Ukrainians are watching this, they love the border because we include all of Ukraine. I will also put a little mark where Zhenya is, just so you know, because I know the border crossing he's at. I've been right at that sign. Chop is like a joke, and not a joke, but it's a town that's like on every road sign throughout Ukraine. It's Chop. Where to Chop? And Chop is just a little teeny town up in the mountains there in western Ukraine. All right, so this is Ukraine. Give you a yellow right here. Zhenya's right here on the Polish border. So you can see, poor fella, he had to drive from here all the way over. But it shows you once again how small the country is. He went a third of the way through Ukraine. Actually, that's a good example for tonight. He went a third of the way, basically, through the width of Ukraine at the border, getting the girl out of there, and they're going to return to Khmelnytsky. You can be to that border in about 5 hours without the military and block post and security checks. All right, so General Staff talking about here in the east, and I'm going to use just red, but Izum right here. Major place. We also know that troops, I showed you last night the video, they're coming in from Belgorod. They're also still amassing here toward Akhturka. We've talked about that. You know that Kharkov is basically surrounded like this. But you can see, let me just color zoom in. You've got a mass of Russian troops right here. Here's Kramatorsk that was bombed. And as I told you, Lugansk is actually now backwards. So you see that? So the troops can come this way. They can go that way to Kharkiv. They can go that way to Dnipro. And they're coming this way to Donetsk. And all of this territory that is occupied gives them security on the backside. Now, we stay in the red. General Staff said Melitopol, vitally important, and Kherson. And folks, really, your taken territory is like this. So that's really the accurate for right now. So if you look at that, Izum has become like a major base of operations. The other thing that he said, the provocations are going to happen right here. And we've talked about this region, the Transnistria. And what they're wanting is some type of provocation. They want Ukraine to fire into Transnistria, and then they can say that they have attacked another sovereign state. So it's all war games going on, but you see the amount of red amassing in the east and in the south and the Transnistria region. Of course, one little last color here in the blue, this is Mariupol. And we're going to talk about them more in just a moment. If 1994 had not happened, we would not have this war. That's possible. That's possible. The U.S. is fighting Russia down to the last Ukrainian. You know, maybe we'll talk about that on another night when I could prep stuff for it. But I will tell you this. This war was going to happen regardless. This has been building in the fabric of the Soviet mentality. And Jane and I talk about it all the time. To break out of that mentality is extremely difficult. This is why you see even children. And you say, well, it's been in Russia now. The Soviet Union fell in 89 and 91. Yeah. But the mentality didn't fall. And a lot of things that have happened over the last 30 years. As far as the Soviet side, the Russian side, and I'm talking about the regime. This has been in the works for a long time, folks. And it's not just Ukraine. If this is not stopped, it will be Poland, it will be Moldova, it will be Estonia, it will be Latvia, it will be Lithuania, etc. This is why they need to be destroyed. Can the Ukrainian army mine the border? No. Ukrainians would not mine their borders because Ukrainians actually care for their people. And no. In fact, very interesting you said that. We're going to talk about mines in just a little while, and you will see why that wouldn't happen. Zelensky today, the transcript of his 60 Minutes interview, a new wave of war will begin in the East, and there will be the most difficult battles yet. That was Zelensky talking on a 60 Minutes interview. He says, we do not know how much equipment there will be, but we understand that there will be many times more than now. We see the accumulation of military forces and equipment near the east and south of the state. We understand almost all the corridors where the enemy plans to go. We understand what the Russian forces are going to do. And we understand that the speed and level of our response will determine our future. We need international military assistance quickly. And that's probably a good statement there on that. Like you said, PG, just watch anything on Chernobyl. The cover lies with lies, the truth shows weakness. That's kind of where I would lean to, even from the fall of the Soviet Union. If you really want some good insight, do some really balanced documentaries on Chernobyl, and you will begin to understand the mentality. Folks, unless you've been there, unless you've been in the culture, unless you've dealt with communism face to face, it's extremely difficult to try to comprehend it. I just have to say that and leave it there. I know it's so easy for us to think, oh, well, this ain't right. This could have happened. If this would have happened, this would have happened. If this country would have done this. Yeah, you're probably right. But I'm here to tell you, unless you've been in that situation, unless you've been in that environment, it's very difficult to understand how complicated it really is. This is Vereshchuk. More than 700 Ukrainian servicemen and more than 1,000 civilians are in Russian prisons. You would call them gulags in the DNR and the LNR. That would be the separate regions of Donetsk and Lugansk. Those are the updated numbers from her today. There are more civilians in prison. This doesn't include the people that have been stolen to Russia or POWs taken to Russia. These are just the numbers they have of civilians and soldiers imprisoned in the DNR and the LNR. I want to go to Lavrov. We're using tonight, Monday night, to kind of reset. We're day 47. Everything tonight is about tactics. Now, I want to tell you what Lavrov has said. He said, and as you know, he is the foreign minister of Russia. In Russia, the goals of the special operation, and really pay attention to this tonight, have adjusted. Special operation. Not only are we focused on the ongoing operations in Ukraine, but as well, we are now called upon to put an end to the U.S. policy of dominating the world. Quote, Lavrov. The Russian Federation will determine our resumption of attacks upon Kyiv based on how the events unfold in the Donbass region. That's in the east. This war must be won on the battlefield. The fire will be stopped only when a final agreement is reached. Beth Smith says, I saw an interview of a Russian official being asked about the murder and rapes, etc., and his response was, that is war, no sympathy at all. Please don't misunderstand tonight. There are really some wonderful Russian people that are dear friends, and I consider them like friends and family. We're talking about the regime, the mentality, the soldiers, people that support the war, of which there are a lot. The last numbers that came out were 74% of Russians support the war. That's not what I'm talking about. Yeah, they do, but many of them do not know the truth. That is why Boris Johnson's trying to get messages in. That is why, he was telling them, get a VPN, get a VPN. I just don't. How would you like to be in your country tonight? Whether you're here for tonight, you're in Canada, maybe America. I know Philippines are in here, and you're in your country, and you have one channel. One. Well, what do you mean one? Well, they have more than that. There is no Cox cable and Spectrum cable. No, it's a different place. Yeah, they got more than one channel, sure. But they all are playing right now the same thing. Everything is state controlled and only fed to the masses what the regime in Moscow wants them to hear. It's reality. Now, let's look how that kind of trickles down. How many of you were fans of Steven Seagal and his movies? I was when I was young, before I really knew anything about him. Steven Seagal, no bueno. You remember the guy I showed you the video of, Solovyov? That Oprah-like, Geraldo-like cat that just spews venom? Well, he and Seagal and Putin are best buddies. In fact, it was Seagal's birthday, and Solovyov was with him last night and actually translating for him. Can't make this up, folks.
To have all of you here with me, because each and every one of you,
it's his birthday,
are my family and you're my friends.
Вы моя семья и мои друзья.
And I love all of you.
Люблю вас всех.
And we stand together
И мы стоим вместе.
through thick and through thin.
И тяжелые времена, и времена сытые, и времена.
So love each other.
And that was enough of that stuff. He goes on to talk about supporting the war. But there you have it, folks. There's Mr. Steven Seagal. What a joke. Why did I show you that? Because I'm trying to make a point tonight. And many of you talking about this, and it's good. Sharing ideas, talking, chatting back and forth. I appreciate that. It's the way we learn together. But when you have this crew of Putin, Seagal, and Solovyov, it begins to trickle down to the kids. It trickles down to the people that this is all they see is this garbage. 15-year-old racer. And once again, remember, sanctions do not work. This is Russian kart racer Artyom Serevyukin. He saluted the regime of Russia while standing on the podium. He won first place at the kart races in Portugal yesterday. You say, well, I thought they're sanctioned. They are. So he just races on the Italian team. He races under the Italian flag due to the sanctions against Russia. Well, I'll just let you see it yourself. So it's a joke, bud. You know what? I just want to watch that. I know he's 15, but unacceptable. Yeah, let me tell you about that cat. His mother trying to protect him and defend him, la 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 la. Let me tell you what happened. He's been booted out. He's not allowed to race for anybody anymore, and he has been deported back to Moscow. The point being, look at the mentality. 15-year-old racer, and supposedly he's like one of the best in the world in the kart as a young kid. Saluting like that on the stage in Portugal under the Russian flag. Yeah, he thinks he's a bad boy, but he's a bad boy back in Moscow now, and you just need to see the mentality. It's hard to understand it. I want to talk about tonight for a few minutes, as we're just talking about tactics. Almost half of the territory invaded by the Russian forces on Ukrainian soil requires demining. Somebody earlier was talking to me about, well, why doesn't Ukraine just mine its border? And the reason that they do not is because they care about their citizens that live there. Kids are out, people are out. It's an agricultural society, so that's a no-no. This was announced by the head of the Department for the Organization of Pyrotechnic Work and the Humanitarian Demining of the State Emergency Service, Oleg Bondar. According to him, a large amount of ammunition, IEDs, and other explosive items have been established, pay attention here, on any territory that the Russian forces have placed their troops. So you can see there, they just look in these green canisters. I think I've got another picture here. Everything is mined. You can see here on the picture on the left, that is just a typical Ukrainian shopping bag that you would get at any market, any bazaar. Under it, you can see the mine, the explosive, the IED with the wires coming from it. You can see the explosives, IEDs, mines planted in the soil, planted in the ground. In fact, let me show you what is happening in the city of Kharkiv right now. They're having to demine the city, and they're still being shelled while they're demining, but there are so many mines that they're having to try to clear them whenever they get a clear moment.
Ведуться роботи по розмінуванню вибухово небезпечних речовин. Прохання всіх залишатися в себе вдома, не підходити до вікон.
Готов? Готов. Заряжай. Огонь. С автоматом нормально.
There they are, just laying on the sidewalk, folks. They're everywhere. Folks, they will be demining for years. They are everywhere. They look like thermoses. They look like little canisters. They're hidden in buildings. They're hidden in guardrails. The Russian forces have literally mined every place they have placed their foot. Why? They're looking for a scorched earth policy. So that's a reason that Ukraine would not mine their own territory. Now, I want us to get a glimpse. I have a little video clip I'm going to share. The first 4 or 5 seconds, you will see a young man being drug out of a well. You do not see his face, his upper torso, anything. You just see his leg. But let me tell you the backstory. A mother, and this is on the road from Kyiv to Zhytomyr. This is on the road from Kyiv to Zhytomyr. I've been through all of these towns. You will see 2 of the towns mentioned when one lady is talking. But basically, it's what you're going to see right now is, let me clear this and I'll show it to you exactly where this is. So let's go here. You have the Kyiv. You have Zhytomyr. And where you're going to see this video is about right here. This is on the main road from Kyiv to Zhytomyr. In fact, folks, any of you that have been to Ukraine with me, this will have been the road that you traveled. You would go this way to Zhytomyr, down through Berdichev, you cut across through Khmelnyk, and then you head on down to Khmelnytsky. So you've been past this area. Yes, that is a truth. Vaughn is right. Steven Seagal is a traitor. He was a sworn-in law officer in the United States. Not only that, if you want to take it a step further for Steven Seagal, he actually is a member of the Russian Special Forces. He's 70 years old now, but he still teaches them hand-to-hand combat training. I mean, he is in Putin's inner circle. Steven Seagal. It's a little bonkers. So this event happened right here at the Red X. You're just going to see 4 or 5 seconds, but let me give you the backstory. This lady has been looking for her son for weeks. When the war started and the Russian forces came into that region, her son disappeared. Could not find him. Hunted, looked, messages on the polls, social media, but he was found. This young boy, about 14 years old, was bound and assassinated and thrown down a well. It's tragic. Not a lot overly graphic here, so no real major warning tonight, but you will see them pull him, just his feet. But then the lady, her neighbor, kind of talks about what's been going on in that region. And I think on our tactical update night, this would be good to share. That's the mom.
По всій дорозі нашій від Березівки до Дмитрівки більше 50 чоловік загинуло. Розстрілювали в упор, стріляли. Там воно є машина, де згоріло дитятко 17 років, одні кісточки залишилося, і жінки півголови знесло. Далі там, ось отуди далі, там чоловік згорів, коло машини лежав. На тополі там розірвало машину вщент, то до людини осталась нога і рука. Прикопали при дорозі, вчора забрали їх там звідти. Ну, таких випадків.
So, yes, horrific. And these bodies are still just being removed. This video came out today, actually. I received it. And, I mean, it's just, there's so many folks. We have no clue how many people have been massacred. And day by day, we're learning more and more. This lady was telling the stories of different people. And it's just terribly tragic. Steven Seagal lives in Russia. I did see that question. He lives in Moscow. Like no joke, folks. Steven Seagal and Vladimir Putin and Lavrov and Solyolov, they're best buds. It's ridiculous. But whatever. Steven Seagal. Energodar. The point with Steven Seagal is he has influence. That's why I kind of put him tonight with the 15-year-old kid. It's ridiculous. I want to talk about Energodar. I created this graphic today, and I'm going to go back to the map. I'm going to show you something tactically. Remember, tonight's all about tactics. We're looking at the week ahead. It's no bueno. Just going to be honest with you. Energodar is right here. Go to the map now. I'm going to show you something. Let's do red. Energodar, this area is right here. Now, a city that Russia wants to capture completely, of course, is Zaporozhye. They already have Melitopol. They all, and I shouldn't have put that in blue. Let me change that color before somebody gets mad at me. Let's take it to purple. They have Melitopol. They have Kherson. They have all of this region here. Like this. Okay? But I want you to know something. In Energodar, the red circle here, this is where the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant is located. This is the place early in the war. I was on one night, and at the same time I was on, this nuclear power plant was being shelled by the Russian forces as they were trying to take control of it. You probably remember that video. We had the live security cam video showing us what was going on. Well, the Russian forces completely control this power plant now. Remember, it's already been changed in name to the Russian power plant that is owned by Vladimir Putin. But let me go to a big one on this. The Russian forces have positioned Grads. Grads are the missile mounted trucks, and they have positioned these Grads surrounding the nuclear power plant. I've given you a satellite image tonight. That is the 6 towers of the nuclear power plant. Remember, this is the largest nuclear power plant in Europe. This is this is the largest power plant in Ukraine, of course, and it is ginormous, very powerful. It is now surrounded by the rocket launchers off the back of the trucks, the Grads, and they are firing everywhere. So now think about this. Let's go back to the tactics for a moment. They are now firing from this direction. And I don't mean to laugh, but, and folks, I've got not really good news. Ukraine can't fire back. So why can't they fire back? They cannot risk hitting the nuclear power plant. It's quite a strategy. We come here, we talk about the truth. That is why they wanted control of that power plant. They're using it as a shield, and they are ripping Grads from all around it. And it's going to have to be close quarters battling to take that out. It's going to be really a challenge because Ukraine is not going to risk a nuclear catastrophe. Russia will, but Ukraine will not. Yeah, something like that, friends, is going to take American technology. It's going to take British technology, NATO technology that comes from the US or from Britain. Ukraine does not have the technology in the country or on the ground to deal with that. There's nothing they can do. They're hogtied. Russia wanted that. That was an early battle. And sure, Jeremy, Black Sea, they're shooting off the boats. Kherson, I showed you Kherson on the map, and tough day. Tough day when you look at the tactics tonight. Kherson has fallen, and now the people are literally taking everything down that has to do with Ukraine. This that they are removing right now was a memorial to the heroic 100. And you may be there tonight and you go, okay, PG, I don't know Ukrainian history. Who are the heroic 100? The heroic 100 are the 100 folks that lost their lives trying to protect their country or save other people in 2014 in Maidan, downtown Kyiv, the sniper event, the Orange Revolution. And they are known as the Heavenly 100, the Heroic 100. There's multiple names for them. And that was the monument that you saw Boris Johnson and Zelensky standing in front of in Kyiv. Well, every city has memorials to them. Khmelnytsky also, right on the square. Every city does. In Kherson, which is a large city, they are completely taking everything down that is Ukrainian. Lugansk. I do not talk about Lugansk very much, but Lugansk is separated. Part of it is still controlled sovereignly by Ukraine. Part of that is controlled by Russia. Lugansk is in trouble. It's in trouble. This would be the northeastern region of Ukraine. I'll go back to the map and I'll just show you tonight. We'll put it in yellow here, but it's basically this region right here. This is the Lugansk area. The mayor came out. His name is Sergei Gadai. He put a video out, but the quality was horrible. I mean, so I didn't show the video. I have it, but basically he had 4 topics in the video that was released today. He said the entire territory of Lugansk region is being shelled. All of it. The enemy made an emphasis in shelling on, those are certain special towns, Kremenaya, Rubizhnoye, Popasnaya. Also, Severodonetsk and Lysychansk, which are larger cities and very important, are under intense shelling. But they were able to evacuate 500 people. Folks, Lugansk, it's in trouble. Ukrainian Orthodox Church today filed a lawsuit against the Moscow Patriarch because the Moscow Patriarch is supporting the war, calling for the denazification of Ukraine. And the Ukrainian Patriarch, the Ukrainian Orthodox, filed a suit today. We just have a complete unraveling of that entire region of the world. This, my friends, is General Alexander Dvornikov. This is the butcher of Syria. His other name, it got bumped down somehow, but his last name is Dvornikov. He's the bad guy, real bad guy. When he was put into position and made the supreme commander of the operation in Ukraine, his first order was the bombing of Kramatorsk. So we get to the interesting update for the evening, and it's all interesting. I want to start with this. First, we're going to finish with talking about Mariupol tonight.
Слава Україні! За 47 днів війни ми всі змінилися. Змінилися та постаріли. Ми стали більше цінувати синє небо та жовте сонце. У кожного українця стало більше шрамів на серці. А душі закатованих, замучених та ні в чому не повинних дітей, жінок і літніх людей чекають нас на небесах. Вони приходять до нас у вісні і шепочуть нам: «Борися, сину, борися, батьку, борися, любий». Чуєте, українці? Ніколи не забувайте тих, кого нащадками ви є, чия кров тече у ваших жилах. Ми всі повинні бути єдині. Єдині у прагненні перемогти. Перемогти зло, що нищить все живе. Хто світло змінює на тьму. Я прошу вас до єдності. Я закликаю вас до боротьби. Я звертаюся до всього світу та до тих людей, хто має мужність діяти. Виходьте на вулиці. Піднімайте синьо-жовті прапори. Виходьте на вулиці усіх міст цивілізованого світу під українськими прапорами. Закликайте політиків, закликайте їх діяти рішуче, щоб визволити з полону Маріуполь, Херсон, Ізюм та інші міста України, що стали заручниками у цій війні. Допомагайте нашій владі бути почутою у боротьбі за Україну. Зробіть це заради наших мертвих, живих та ще ненароджених. Ми віримо у військово-політичне керівництво України. Ми продовжуємо боротьбу за український Маріуполь.
So you can see, folks, he's getting worn out and tired, and it's obvious. We've been watching this guy for the entire war. He's still there fighting. The Azov battalion is still fighting, but you can hear the desperation. Also, the call for unity, because there's been some infighting inside of Ukraine. You could see his statement there. We're together. We're one. And the reason he made that statement is because there has been a little bit of infighting. Not that they're not standing for Ukraine, but many people that are still trapped in Mariupol, if they're still alive, they just feel that more could have been done. But it's impossible for Ukraine to break the blockade. You see, if Ukraine broke or attempted to break the blockade in Mariupol, it would require everything they have. And then what happens to Kyiv? What happens to Kharkiv? What happens to Dnipro, Odessa? You see, the swarm and mass of the Russian military and the basically limitless supply of arms that they have been stocking for decades in preparation for this, it's becoming difficult to overcome. we're not giving up yet, but what I'm going to share with you last tonight could be a game changer. Could be. Earlier today, this was a speech given by Edward Basurin. This was, what is it, almost 10 o'clock? Maybe 8 hours ago, 9 hours ago. Edward Basurin, he's the press secretary of the Donetsk People's Republic. Centers of resistance of Ukrainian militants who remain on the territory of Mariupol, including defensive positions and factories. We are making decisions on how to smoke them out. Now, I want to remind you, Russia changed their general to the butcher of Syria. Now, Kramatorsk hit in an unbelievable way, and the death toll has went up even more. And now we see this guy. We saw the nitric oxide attacks. We've seen more hits on chemical reservoirs. Now, this guy from the DPR made this statement today. He says the proposal is standing to use chemical weapons against the Ukrainian military who are defending themselves at Azovstal. It makes no sense to storm the underground fortifications of the Azovstal in Mariupol. So we need to turn to the chemical troops, said Basurin, press secretary of the DPR command. That was 9-10 hours ago. Everything I'm going to tell you right now is factual, confirmed. 9 or 10 hours ago, this guy made that statement. What happened next? The bottom right, you see the word Terminovo. And you look in the upper left, if you can see it, and it's from the Azov. They sent out a warning that they had been hit with chemical weapons. It stated about an hour ago, the occupiers used against the Ukrainian military and civilians in Mariupol a poisonous substance of unknown origin, which was dropped from a UAV from the Azov, describing it. The victims have respiratory failure, vestibuloatactic syndrome. The consequences of using an unknown substance are being clarified. The media has reported on the possible use of sarin gas in Mariupol. So 10 hours or so ago, the press secretary of Donetsk makes that statement. It wasn't an hour later that this report came from the Azov. Now, I don't want to run with this too quick, but I'm telling you, those two things are facts. Now we're going to go to the next facts. It is a fact that Jens Stoltenberg has already responded. He stated, after the attack, the use of chemical weapons will change the nature of war in Ukraine. Jens Stoltenberg. This will be a flagrant violation of international law with far-reaching consequences, adding that the use of such weapons could affect neighboring NATO member countries. Now, on the left, Liz Truss. She's a spokesman for the Defense Department and a government official in Britain. She's saying reports that Russian forces may have used chemical agents in an attack on the people of Mariupol. We are working urgently with partners to verify details. Any use of such weapons would be a callous escalation in this conflict, and we will hold Putin and his regime to account. So, folks, those are the facts. It is still 5 a.m. there, probably not even light yet. These things are just unfolding. All of this has been unfolding through the darkness and through the night. So there aren't any detailed facts yet. But I can tell you, new general, press secretary of Donetsk says we need to gas them. There is a gas attack. We do not know what it is, but it's to the level that Stoltenberg and Liz Truss have come out and made statements. Immediately, it started going through the Ukrainian media, European media. These are old articles, but everybody started putting them out on their media immediately in Ukraine, in Ukrainian, in Russian, and in English. Ukraine, NATO will respond if Russia uses chemical weapons, warns Biden. Biden says U.S. would respond to Russia if Putin uses chemical or biological weapons. And then it's in Russian, it's in Ukrainian, everywhere. Folks, that's all we have so far. If you hear anything else from anybody else, there's no other facts to add. I can tell you, new general, press secretary called for it. There was a chemical attack. We do not know what gas it is, but it is to the level that Stoltenberg and Liz Truss have responded publicly. This attack did happen. Finally, I want to show you this. Do Ukrainian forces have MOPP gear for chemical warfare? Let me show you guys this. I do not know what MOPP stands for. I mean, I see what you write there. So I will look that up, JDO, but I will tell you this. I'm not going to pump the sound through it because it will feed back on me. Maybe I'll show it tomorrow night. But check this out. I'll mute the sound. This is me in Ukraine a few years ago, and they were teaching me how to put on a Ukrainian gas mask. Then they said, nope, you did it wrong. You did it wrong. I'll play this tomorrow night with the sound. I don't want to loop a sound through a browser right now. They go, no. You have to do it from the bottom. There you go. So, folks, I've been working there a long time. I've even put gas masks on. This, my friends, every night we talk about the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. You never see his picture. I just show you the logo, but this is him. His name is Valery Fedorovich Zaluzhny. He's a great guy. Commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, Zaluzhny, assured that the authorities are doing everything possible and impossible. That's not a misquote. Everything possible and impossible, meaning they're going above and beyond to defend Mariupol. I emphasize that the conduct of defense operations is not a topic of public discussion. Remember, I told you there was some little bit of rattling because just people they're stressed out. They're exhausted over Mariupol and, of course, the rest of Ukraine. He stated, we are doing the possible and the impossible for the victory and the preservation of the lives of personnel and civilians in all directions. And then he stated, continue to believe in the armed forces of Ukraine. So, folks, tonight I wanted to take a detailed time for an hour and give you a tactical update and overview. We have looked at all the maps. We've looked at the most up-to-date information, even with the gas attacks, the statements from Russia, everything. So as of now, 10:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, unless something new has come through, and let me check. Nope, not on that one. And not on that one. Folks, we are completely caught up right now with what is going on. Remember Zhenya in prayer? They're getting that young girl out of there. He will be traveling back, and you saw how far that was, to get her back to her family safely, and continue to pray for Ukraine. There's so many things happening on so many levels. Thank you for continuing to pray, continuing to share, continuing to like. Listen, even if you're watching on Facebook and you don't want to write or say anything, just type hi, hello, anything, because these algorithms see this and we can get this to more and more people. We're doing our part. 47 days. This is where we're at. Thank you for continuing to give. Thank you for continuing to support. We love you guys, and we thank you for all that you are doing. Peace to you and peace to Ukraine tonight. We'll see you in 23 hours. Good night.